when I was 21, I was starting a company in Chinese language in China. You have to show me that you have the skill of hustling and closing the deal with an investor first before I will believe that you can make this company successful. So this is the big unicorn that I literally had in my hands, but I missed it. So selling the company, it's a tough decision. If you think it's a good offer and you're ready, maybe just sell it and move on.
In this episode, my guest is Valerie Bertele, a global tech leader, VC, general partner, and extreme adventurer. From launching her first company at 21 in China to climbing the highest peaks across continents. Valerie's story is all about bold moves, borderless thinking, and the future of innovation. Today, we talk about startups, venture capital, AI frontiers, and study. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, Alena. Very nice meeting you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here.
Who is a venture capitalist? Talk to me like I'm 5 years old.
I like to explain venture as there's three jobs. One is to find capital. So you're working with investors and you work with limited partners. So you get the money, right? The second part is to find startups. So to decide where to put this money in as an investment. And the last part, it's exits and helping those companies to grow. So making sure that somebody gives you the money, you put them on the right bets, and then you return that capital. So that's as simple as it is. And then there's, of course, variations of corporate venture, private, or endowments and parts of universities, for example.
And what skills make a great venture capitalist? And how do you learn them?
I think it's an investor mindset, right? I want to say that it takes experience and the time to see more and more companies to decide which one is a good company to invest. But at the same time, if you have a deep knowledge of specific industry, maybe it's a climate tech or healthcare, even without knowing the investments and the financial part, you'll be able to choose good companies because, this is a specific tech that that there's an addressable market for it. And you believe the founder that they are the right people to make it happen. Because at the end of the day, you're investing in people. Ideas are pivoting and technologies are changing. You all see in the last couple of years how dramatically AI changed the landscape. So it's all about the individual, their knowledge, and also their personal skills to make this company successful. So as an investor, you have to be able to identify those.
How can a founder get your attention?
That's a good question because for me, outside of venture, I'm also a business development and a sales professional. I moved from academia into that world. I just realized that I'm good with people and selling the ideas. So for me to get my attention, I respect the hustle. I respect the founders who are hustling, trying to find, being smart, where to find me, where to meet me, and how to get my attention. So this is also part of the skill that I'm evaluating, right? Even if I say, no, I'm not sure yet, I want to see how they will pursue me to get me to write a check. Because if they cannot do that with me, how are they going to do it with their customers, with their future investors? You have to show me that you have the skill of hustling and closing the deal with an investor first before I will believe that you can make this company successful.
I hope we got our listeners' attention and they are hitting the like button right away. And we're going to the next question. What does a day in the life of a general partner at the VC firm actually look like?
As I said, there's three parts, right? And in the lifespan of the fund, in the beginning, for example, you're spending more time raising the fund. So it will be the first part, talking to investors, doing a lot of meetings, traveling, and convincing people that you and your partners are the right people to give the capital to. So in the beginning, it will be more fundraising and financial part. Once your capital is secured and you announce that we launched this fund, this is our focus, this is our thesis, then it's moving directly to working with a lot of startups, finding them, investing, doing the right deals. And then at the end of the fund, you are helping companies to succeed, to grow, make sure you have the returns. And usually you also start fundraising the next fund. So it's kind of like those three jobs and then they're overlapping with the next fund. Day to day, if you look a little bit broader from those three categories, it can be anything from trying to get into a specific deal. Very good deals in Silicon Valley. Very often they're closing fast and people will ask you why you're the right fund or right investor to join. So you have to make the calls, try to meet them to convince to get your money. Sometimes this is happening. Very often it can be more operational, just working with the banks. Let's say you're doing specific transactions, especially if it's overseas. A lot of banks, they're still very manual. You have to submit the wire. You have to call them up and make sure the wire goes through. So it can be operational, just making sure the fund runs smoothly. or it can be directly fighting for deals, or maybe dealing with some LPs that having a meltdown because they think the market is crashing and they're all in stress. So it can be like from babysitting to fighting for the deal. So it can be very diverse.
So what is your today looks like?
Okay, today, what time is it now? Right now, it's almost midday, and I'm recording a podcast with you. My morning, I usually wake up super early in the morning and I'm checking if there's any emergencies. Something is happening that I need to address ASAP. Today was a good day in general. I was just working operationally. I was opening a credit card for one of our accounts for business, just for expenses. So I was on a call with the bank because something was not going through. Then I was joining a call with our analysts. They were analyzing a few top companies. So we have analysts who will go and scout basically like a pipeline of, I don't know, 100 startups. And then they pre-select the one that they think are making sense for us and they're fitting our thesis. So I joined the call listening for the top picks and top winners, providing my feedback. And then I was going to the city to have a coffee with one of my investors who's traveling from overseas, and he's in San Francisco. So we had like a coffee meetup, catching up what's happening on the investment side. And then when I was on a transfer, I try not to drive in San Francisco because parking is bad and I want to be a good citizen. So while I was on my shuttle, we have a shuttle from where I live, I was just looking at the news, what's happening with the market, just kind of having a sense of what's going on in the world. And then also scheduling the rest of the day, because now I'm doing a podcast. But before this call, I was talking to one of the like a large corporates that are working with the audits and setting up your business accounts overseas. So they want to propose those services for our portfolio companies. And the rest of my day, I will have a business lunch with a friend of mine from a bank who wants to sponsor our future events. And then there will be another meeting, trying to remember, also something around business. Like when people are traveling around the fund, if they're in San Francisco, I'm always trying to meet them because I'm the partner here. So you see, it's pretty diverse. I started with like a little bit of operational bank, then touching on startups, then during my commute, checking the news, like a bigger, broader perspective on the market. And then the second part of the day, it will be in-personal meetings for specific services, sponsorship, or investors for the fund.
Need top tech talent fast? At Key People, we connect companies from the US and European Union with elite tech experts from Europe. Top talent, optimal costs. 91% success rate in filling specialized roles. Women-owned, HR smart, tech savvy. Click the info box to know more how we can hire you the next tech star. What's one deal that taught you the most and why?
Oh, good question. I think those are the deals that you didn't get in. I think what taught me the most, when I was in Australia, you probably heard about the small company, which is a unicorn called Canva. It's a design company, right? So I was in Australia listening to Melanie Perkins, the founder, who was just pitching this idea very early on. It was 2013, 14, literally over 10 years ago. And I was in the audience. I was at that conference when she was presenting, and I was like, oh, this is actually a pretty good idea. I even downloaded her app, and I was using it that day because I was going for a hackathon, and I created some design for our hackathon idea. And it was really great. The experience was super good. And somehow, maybe I was still an early investor. I wish I was thinking, this is a great startup. This is a great idea. I'm downloading and using it right away. I should definitely go and talk to a founder, at least to have a chance to potentially invest. So this is the big unicorn that I literally had in my hands, but I missed it. So for me, that taught me about being kind of more forward thinking, recognizing a talent and a good product right there.
Thank you. And usually failures teach us more, than successes.
Yes, exactly.
What makes you not invest, and even if the numbers look good?
I don't like when I'm pushed into a deal. In Silicon Valley, one of the like what to say, it's like one of the styles you try to push investors, say, oh, we're closing, there's last chance, you have to do like today or like tomorrow to be closed. So usually I don't like those deals, because it's either overpriced or rushed, or it's just like you don't have enough time to validate the idea. So for me, it sounds like too much. Even though one of the companies who was pushing me into, and I like the founder, I like the idea, I decided not to invest, and now it's proven to be a good company. They just raised 15 million, and we could have joined in the 3 million. So it's going to be 5x already. So I don't like when it's kind of rushed and something is like too urgent. And the second one, I think it's the trust between a founder and investor. because those relationships, they will last sometimes longer than the marriage. In the modern world, people get divorced faster. So you want to have a full transparency. If you require specific documents or you're asking, can you explain to me where's the loss here? If you see that there's a miscommunication or the founder is hiding something from very early on, then for me, it's a huge red flag that down the line, it's very hard to communicate and to actually have a transparency to what really is happening with the company. A good founder will be communicating proactively, saying, those are my sweet spots. This is everything is doing well. And those are the areas where we're struggling or we're lacking. So having this ability to communicate bad and good things, for me, it's a really good quality of a founder.
You work at the edge or frontier tech. What trend do you think people are underestimating right now?
Very good question. There are many trends and directions that are happening. I think people are underestimating the importance of critical minerals. Because if you think about AI, what we have right now, it's the top of the pyramid. AI sits on, of course, the cloud sits on databases, and it's all, literally physical real estate, and then the cooling system and infrastructure and the hardware. And then it goes down to manufacturing and the rare minerals. So right now we have a dependency on China, for example, and everybody is thinking that mining now is fashionable. Because a couple of years ago, if you talk, I'm in mining, everybody thinks that, oh, you're this horrible person who's digging the earth and just creating more pollution. But at the end of the day, people who do mining, this is everything, solar, nuclear, any green energy and any technology, it's all powered by mining. So I think people overlooking what is happening in that industry and how you can be part of those kind of real life technologies versus just thinking far, far ahead, like, okay, I'm investing in AI. And I'm looking into rare mineral space very closely. So it's basically the infrastructure piece of innovation.
Yeah, the basement,
Yes,
of
exactly. The
the
basement. Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's interesting. Haven't thought about it yet. And how will the work of VCs change in the next 5 to 10 years, and why?
Definitely AI and automation will create a huge disruption. We have seen on the market for the last couple of years, some VC funds already had their platforms where you can pull out the signals from the market. I literally seen it myself. Like they put our funds website there, and the tool automatically scans all the companies that we have there to see who is doing well, who is lagging, who has churn, who has lost customers. It's all out there. So you have a lot of data into due diligence and finding, and actually also tracking which companies are just about to break through. So there will be more of those finding through the signals. You don't even need to see a deck or meet a founder to see that the company is growing. And maybe it's a little bit more on the later stages because that's where you have more signals. Super early stage, if there's nothing yet, or like it's a very simple MVP, just a very few paid customers, then it's more of a human concept. But in the later stages, there will be definitely more automation happening. So I think that, and probably access to capital. What we're seeing, family offices who are traditionally just, you can translate it as rich families or wealthy people, they were less involved directly in venture capital because it was riskier. People didn't understand that. It was mostly like, real estate, stock market. But we see more and more of those family offices, asset allocators joining the venture capital. So there will be more access to flexible capital comparing to traditional VC banks and regular type of financing. So I think that will be another change. So more capital and also, of course, more automation in tech. How do you source deals and how do you find them?
Why do you think this trend with generational wealth is happening right now?
First of all, because generations are shifting. We have millennials and Gen Zs coming into power. So it's definitely just, children are inheriting it. And I think there was a pretty remarkable statistics that 2/3 of all the wealth around the world will be in the hands of women for the first time. I think it's heavily in Asia because there were a lot of one-child policies. So there were just more women. Like let's say you have one daughter in a family, she's the one who will inherit the wealth. And plus in other countries, there's just more women coming into power as investors and somebody who will get, like the daughter will get it instead of a son, for example. So how this will change the world? I think dramatically because women are investing in different style. It's more value investing. There's a lot underserved areas like female health, like Flo is an example. Flo Health, it's a unicorn from originally from
My
Belarus, now in the
favorite one.
UK.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Who would think about periods? A couple of years ago, you walk into a room and say, I'm investing in a period startup, like men will be literally like, bye. They don't want to talk to you. But those are the huge areas that are still not addressed. So I
But
think,
it's
go on.
man-owned company.
Exactly, it's a man owned. But what I'm saying, the investor will look into different areas and addressing women gap, which is half of the world's population, it definitely will be more and more opportunities on that angle.
I agree 100%. I'm talking to a bunch of women venture capitalists, and there's like a huge shift, but we're in the beginning of this process, I
Yep.
believe, because it feels like 90% of all money are going to men
Still.
founders. Yes, so we're just in the beginning.
Yep.
Thank you for this perspective. And I want to talk about startups and exits a bit.
Mhm.
So, what's something nobody tells you about selling a startup?
It's very hard to find the right timing. Where do you decide to sell or get a next round or just continue to grow and maybe financing it outside of venture? So there are options. What we're seeing right now about selling a startup is that you really have to time the market. I give you a good example of Wix, which was sold this year to Google. And last year, the offer was around 22 billion. So they waited for 1 year. It was also connected with the current administration from Biden to Trump. And they
Mm-hmm.
sold for 32 billion. So it's a 10 billion difference. Literally like a one third of the company within 1 year. Why they didn't sell last year, why they sold this year, nobody knew. But I think sometimes waiting a little bit longer to get a better offer, it's the way to go. Especially if you're getting the offer, it means people want you. So you have the negotiation power in your hands. But it's difficult. Like they will also have a opposite case where people didn't sell when the offer was good and then market changed and there was nothing. So I think that's the hardest part, when to sell, for how much, and what to do on the exit stage. So it's difficult. I don't have a right answer for that yet.
Yeah, seems like a gambling. Yeah.
It's the market, the timing. Look at stock market. In February, everybody was like, "Woo, we're great, Trump economy, we're doing so well." And then just 2 weeks later, huge crashes and people lost 20% of their savings. So it's nobody expected that this will happen. So things like that, it's volatility of the market. COVID was a great example. Would anybody expect this happening a couple of years ago? No. So selling the company, it's a tough decision. If you think it's a good offer and you're ready, maybe just sell it and move on. It's better, some money are better than no money.
I agree. Thank you. What's your advice to founders who feel like they too early for VC?
Too early for VC, it's totally fine. We know 3 Fs: family, friends, and fools. If you can get money without VC from your family, from your community, definitely go for it, because it's people who believe you, who trust you, and that can give you this first boost to build the MVP, to get the first traction. What I also see, venture debt. Even within our portfolio, we have a company that raised VC money, and then they use this almost like as a collateral to raise a venture debt. It meaning that they just get a debt without sharing the percentage of the company, which is really smart. If you
Mhm.
don't need VC money, don't get VC money.
And when do you need to get this VC money? Where
I
is
would say
what
you
is the
need,
marker?
the marker is that you have a smart money. It means it's the distribution, it's some
Mhm.
additional help. It's something outside of just pure financing. You definitely want to get that if you want to scale, you want to grow, maybe use the ecosystem. Let's say if you have investment from Google and Microsoft, those hyperscalers right now for AI, using their cloud platform and co-selling your product, it's a huge advantage. You can't have it if you just get the money from a bank.
When should a founder walk away from an investor?
There are also red flags for founders, right? The same way we're evaluating startups. As a founder, you also want to make sure that you're getting a good deal. Red flags, it's a really bad term sheets. Some investors try to screw over invest like founders getting larger share that they need to. So if you feel uncomfortable, if your lawyers, always good to get a good lawyer, both founders and the funds. If you feel that terms are not aligning and the investor is not negotiating with you, that there's like a wall of what they want, just walk away. It's not a good deal. You will lose down the line. And also, it's the relationship, how they're treating you, how often they're responding to you. Like, do you feel that this is the investor that will be with you when things are not just good, but when things are bad? It's like a relationship. You're choosing a partner for long term. But it's, I think, in the beginning for founders, starting with the terms, that you feel that your terms are good for you. Because if it's a smart investor, they want to make sure that founders feel motivated. They will have piece of pie at the end, and the investor is there to support and not screw them, and they will have motivation to grow, because otherwise founders will just feel like there's nothing left for them and they just will not be performing. as much as they could have.
I got so many questions, but I realized that if I will go to the details, we're going to stay here for 3 hours, and we don't have these hours, but it's so interesting for me. But uh, I know that you have like a very interesting international experience. So my next question is going to be about your China experience. How did your experience in China shape the way you think about business?
When I moved to China, I was literally 20. I was just out of college, out of my own country. I didn't know what to expect. And I think for me, what I think about the business, sometimes it's just the right timing. I moved to China when everybody's like, "Oh, why are you moving to China?" I was like, what's going on? And when I moved there, within those 3 years when I was living there, everybody wanted to work with China, like selling to China, buying from Chinese market. So I accidentally started the company, that's how I call it, because I was just in the right timing. And even Bitcoin, like, and all the mining was starting when I was there as well. So people were calling me because I was there, like, can you help us to buy those chips for mining? And I just made a lot of money just being there in the right time. So what it taught me, sometimes you don't know, and sometimes that's just you're just lucky to be in the moment.
Mhm.
And another thing, it's when I was in China, because it was a different language and a different culture. Of course, I was learning how to operate in that environment. I learned how to be really bold and just go for it. Like you don't know what are the rules, and you kind of like create your own. So you're not afraid of challenging the norms and creating something. Like when I was 21, I was starting a company in Chinese language in China, and it was working. So after China, then going to any country, I feel like I can start anything, anywhere, at any location, because it's way, way
Wow.
easier. Yeah. It's a
Yes,
huge confidence boost just to try things, figure them out, and something will work, something wouldn't.
that's really impressive. And is learning Chinese worth it in today's global landscape?
I think it does. China is the second largest economy, and I don't think it's going anywhere down. It's been always, it's second. China twice was the biggest civilization in the world. So Chinese actually know that and they feel it. I think it's definitely worse to know the language of a huge economy. There's so much relationship with China happening. This is A. And B, Chinese is one of the most ancient languages. And if you treat it as an intellectual or cultural discovery, learning the characters, knowing how to do calligraphy is just very I think it's advances you as a learning mechanism to learn such a different language from whatever ever you learn. And it also will help you to understand their perspective. What we're seeing right now, there's so much polarization, like, oh, one is bad, one is good, China against US. Once you learn the language and you'll start, hanging out with Chinese, get the food, get the culture, you will see both perspective. And I want to believe that for the future, that will help us to find a consensus, a collaboration versus a confrontation between two global economies.
How should someone begin learning Chinese today? Any tips that
Get
worked for
Chinese
you?
friends. Get Chinese friends. The best way to learn languages, of course, is to immerse yourself. So even in San Francisco, there's so many Chinese meetups. Like half of Silicon Valley is Chinese people. So find those friends, genuinely be interested in the culture, and start practicing like simple things. Hello, how are you? Let's go and have a drink. So just to get over this barrier, that's the best way. And of course, if you can go to China or at least go to like Chinese school or university where you're surrounded by the language, it will help you tremendously to learn. I would advise against Duolingo. I know it's a great big company, but I really like Pimsleur technique. It's more about listening and speaking because
Mhm.
you can get caught up in this positive loop that you feel, oh, I'm learning those words and things. But words, it's not the language. It's like you can see a lot of videos about swimming and you feel like you know the strokes. But before you're in the water and you're actually trying to breathe and move in that environment, you will never be able to learn to swim. So Duolingo, it's like a replacement of the real language.
Yeah, I'm not advocating for Duolingo anyhow. I didn't have this application in my phone ever. Yeah, but I was learning English through MTV.
Okay, another way, yes, find something
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
like and you enjoy, and this is yeah, it's your immersion for sure.
Thank you. And we're moving to the next section is about studying in being an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And I I saw that you've been studying in a lot of universities and different programs, and I just wanted to ask you about the latest one. What did you learn at Stanford Business School that you still use daily?
My latest was Stanford. Why I decided to do that particular program and why I actually decided to go to Stanford after almost 7 degrees already. For me, I think it's an ecosystem, it's a network, it's people for sure. And what I've learned at Stanford, they teach you about creating value and capturing value. And I think those are two very important concepts. What can you bring to the world as a human being? Like, who do you know? What do you know? What's your product, right? I launched my own company after Stanford because I realized I have a value to bring. And then
Mhm.
capturing value, it's what's your business model? Like, how much are you going to charge? Like, what products are you going to sell based on your value? And it's applicable in anything. If it's your personal business and consulting or your huge corporation like Nvidia that provides the chips, and then they charge a lot of money for them to have more cash to reinvent, to have R&D, and to actually stay on the top. So Stanford, I think, gave me really good models about this change of the thinking, how to do it,
Mhm.
and of course the network. That's the thing that you actually pay for.
So the executive program has a very executive students, as I
Yes, I
understand.
was one of the youngest on the course. Most of the people are, I would say, in their 40s to 50s. They're very accomplished, very successful. They have everything from classic corporates, entrepreneurs, unicorn founders, governments, investment funds, like even sovereign funds. It was fantastic network. I can't say more how great is that. And then every year you have reunions, so you can go to different locations, have a lot of fun, and you also connect with people from different years. So it's not just the 1 year that you completed.
Mhm.
We had 200 people in my year, but you can expand beyond that and have a huge reach. So in my business, it helped me tremendously to have that network.
Thank you. I have pretty the same experience with Stanford Lead program.
Hmm.
It's a bit lower level, but yeah, the community, the reunions, conferences, and
Yeah,
so on is like
yeah.
you're always in some cult.
In a way,
uh,
yes, yes. I think it's the
yeah.
right way to say. Yeah.
What did Stanford not teach you that you had to figure out the hard way?
I think what they don't teach you, like more obstacles and more problems. For example, like interpersonal communications. Let's say you have a partner with whom you have certain difficulties, right? It can be competition or misunderstanding. So more of those that problems will arise and how to solve them. I think like I would say like a trouble management or critical
Right.
communication between
Mhm.
when problems are there. So they teach us a lot how to run when things are good and pivoting and changing. But I wish there was more about how to deal with egos of people, narcissism, traumas from childhood. It's almost like a psychotherapy in the business settings. That's something I wish I knew more about.
Yeah, because they teach you how to be a good leader. Yeah.
Yes, but they're bad leaders too. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but sometimes there are some situations where it's hard to be like just a good leader, yeah, with the only good tools with like
yeah. And it's
motivation.
also how to, if you see a bad leadership or bad partnership, how to navigate, like what are the tools, not
Mm-hmm.
just for personal protection, but what are the legal tools to make sure that you
Mm.
are protected from those situations. So things are happening, especially if you go into higher league and there are more money under management and bigger deals. People can behave not in the way that you expect them to behave.
I think that we should start a new program like badass management or something like that.
Or I think they're really expensive courses for like a crisis management and those type of things. But I wish we had more of those. We had more like in a corporate setting. Let's say if there's a bad publicity or attack on the corporates, how do you do like PR and communication? But I'm talking more about a smaller group of people. Let's say it's investors or high level deals, like negotiating with the government. Like this is something that it's a very advanced level, like 101 or 1 to 2, how to negotiate. I think negotiation, psychology, and even like a body language. I'm reading books right now, for example, like a CIA and FBI, how to read body language, micro movements to understand real intentions of people.
Thank you. What personal mindset shift helped you go from operator to investor?
Risk taking, I guess. Anything in investment, it's in the beginning, and it's not just like one thing, it's venture investing, right? When you take other people money and you're investing them. But if you also start your own investments, right? Once you're just working for a company, you're just a regular employee, everything is comfortable. If you make a mistake, it's protected by the company, by legal. But if you're out there by yourself and you're making your own investments and you're raising your fund and you're building your own company, it's just a very it can be scary to start and then not easy to figure it out. But once you're there, you feel so much more empowered that you have a freedom of your
Mhm.
life. Like you have a control of your life. You're working for your own paycheck rather than somebody else's paycheck.
You've been into different roles as a founder and as an investor.
Mhm.
What roles fit you more?
I like both. I like being a founder because I enjoy starting companies, building them up, like realizing their ideas. But as an investor, it's I wouldn't say it's more passive role, but as an investor, you have the ability to think like where it will make sense for me to, of course, add the money, but also put my efforts for the longer term. So it's different type. You cannot be everywhere and doing everything. So I do like both, but I still like to build. I think like a lot of investors are kind of older. They've done everything. They've built the corporates or sold their companies, and now they kind of like a little bit. I don't want to say tired, but they're focusing on their hobbies maybe and investing somewhere here and there. I still like to build stuff. I still like to be active. For me, it's the high level of dopamine I was born with. I'm always like striving to do something new. As you've seen me launching my media platform and doing stuff under Silicon Valley, it's yet another initiative that I'm trying to develop.
Very high level of energy, I should describe it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so thank you so much. And we're going to the very short but interesting part. I will ask you several questions where you should choose only one option, okay?
Okay.
Beijing street food or Parisian cafe culture?
Oh gosh, that's hard. Those are like my two favorites. I would say Tianjin street food, right next to Beijing. I was studying in Tianjin. They're famous for their street food. It's just, I love it. The food is phenomenal there.
Mont Blanc or Mountain Kostyushka?
Oh, that's also hard. I think Mont Blanc because it's a taller mountain and it's just right in the middle of my favorite France is my country. So it's a bigger mountain. Kostyushka, which is in Australia pronounced Kozioshka. I don't know why they twisted it so much. So Kozioshka, it's a very low mountain, so it's basically a hike. You don't really feel like you're doing a big mountaineering there.
Leading from the front or empowering quietly from the back?
I'm actually transitioning. I used to be always like, okay, I'm on the front, I'm doing everything. And now I'm learning how to build teams and how to hire people smarter than me and empower them to actually be in the forefront. So I'm transitioning right now.
Working with animals or managing humans?
Oh, it's a good one. You really have like really good questions. I think working with humans that sometimes feels like animals in not in a way that you have to really navigate psychology and temperament and characters almost like different breed of people like working with engineers and business people it feels like there's two different breeds sometimes.
As a person that been in HR forever, I have a recruiting company, agree 100%. Yeah. So conquering a summit or selling a startup?
I would say selling a startup now because I'm still on the way of making progress and making money in a way. Because once you're conquering the mountain, it's very personal. It's about you and just being on that. I love doing that. But selling a company, it's also about the people who were behind you, who were helping you to build this company. So you have responsibility outside of your just me versus a team.
Dream bigger or start smaller?
Start smaller. A lot of people dream big, but they never have this tiny little thing. LinkedIn as an example, I was really uncomfortable to start posting and kind of expose myself. And so many of my friends and people I don't know reached out and say how to break this mental barrier, how to do this very first step. So we're not doing many first steps to achieve those really large dreams. So just little step by step to get there.
Hire a ghostwriter. Yeah.
Or hire a ghostwriter. Exactly. Get
It's also
something
the
out
first
there.
step. Yeah. So thank you so much. It was really, really interesting and hope to see you again in several years where you're going to be like a 10x into some great company. And yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Aliona. I don't even know what will be the 10x and 10 years from now, but it's definitely super exciting to keep building. And I think being in San Francisco, you're just surrounded by so much incredible energy that it's the place to create. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Thank you. I've noticed that only 15% of those who watch this video is subscribed to the channel. If you subscribe to the channel, I promise to make each episode better than the last.